I had a good friend who had a crush on an American woman, Indian guy, American woman. And his opening line with her was, "Wow, your face is really round."
Oh my
And-
gosh.
Safety in United States. Is it safe to come to United States?
Yeah.
And you guys have lived there all your
Yeah.
life. What are your thoughts?
The different festivals and things that you guys celebrate and you do, it's so fascinating to me as an American.
Networking is like a big thing in United States. It's not necessarily what you know, it's more like who you know is what we
Yep.
say in America.
Yeah.
So
Don't
yeah.
force yourself to do things you don't
Yeah.
actually like.
Yes. How is it dating in America in general? Like, what's the dating culture like?
I think 20% of people, if I'm not wrong, meet their partner at work today in America. And that way they have the option of contacting you.
Yeah.
And this goes for men too. And that way you're not putting undue pressure on someone. Sometimes the Indians would only hang out with Indians.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Chinese would only hang out with Chinese.
Yeah.
And that means they weren't able to grow their network.
Yeah.
So professionally, it can hurt you a bit.
Totally.
All right. Welcome, you guys. I'm so excited for this episode because you guys are going to be first American guest on this series. So you guys bring different perspective. And I'm excited because a lot of my audience, I asked them like, what are questions you would want to ask them? So I've gotten some questions from them, but I am curious child. I call myself child. So I will have my questions as well. So super excited to like ask and have this conversation. What is it like to live in America? And I know both of you have some Indian context as well. So before we do that, let's do like a quick intro. Like, where are you from and something about you, like maybe 10-20 seconds. Yeah.
Great. So my name is Claire Almand. I'm the Associate Director of Marketing at MPOWER. Before that, I was living and I grew up in Ocean City, Maryland, which is a small beach town. Later on, I went and got an MBA where 1/3 of my class was international. So I had the great experience of seeing what it's like going to school from an American context in addition to just international context, which was really interesting. And then the past few years, I've been in Bangalore half the time with my team. So I also have some great experiences feeling what it's like to be in India
Yeah.
as well as in the United States.
Nice. I'm Caitlyn Jagani. I'm Yudi's wife. And currently I'm a homemaker or housewife, but in my professional career, I worked as a drafter in architects and engineering offices. So
Nice. I know a lot about you.
Oh, and I'm from Chico, California.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. And you grew up in Chico?
Yes. Yeah,
Cool.
I grew up in Chico, California. U.S. citizen as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since both of you have visited India,
Yeah.
I want to start like there. What is the biggest like cultural differences you've noticed? Like, okay, this is something different, or maybe this was like a first memory, like first time you encountered.
Okay, I have mine already.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just how time is treated a bit differently. I just remember my first day of my MBA, an Indian student walked in 20 minutes late, and the professor made the whole class stop and watch him walk into the class.
Oh my God.
Very awkward. And so it's just,
Poor kid.
and drove the point home.
Yeah.
But, if something's at 9:35, it is not 5 minutes later. It's not 5 minutes earlier. It's at 9:35. And I've learned here things can be a lot more flexible, where something might be a bit earlier, maybe 20 minutes later, and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just a cultural difference you get used to. I like the relaxed nature of India.
Yeah.
And then it's a
Yeah.
little easier to plan things, I think, in the US.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know. The first thing I thought of was with family, because one of the first times I met family, it was long flight. My feet had gotten a little bit swollen in the plane, and Indians are more if they're a good friend or family, they'll let you know if maybe something looks a little bit off, but they'll tell you up front with other people around. Where in the US we'll be like, hey, can I tell you something more private?
Or pipe it on your phone and show it to you.
Yeah.
They told me in a family setting oh my gosh, your feet are so big. What happened? And I was mortified. I was oh my gosh. I feel like I'm gonna cry and burst into tears because that just doesn't happen in the US.
Yeah.
If you have like a pimple, or maybe your eyes are a little bit red,
Yeah.
like somebody will come over and be like,
Just like on this trip, also one of our friends said,
yeah.
like, your eyes are red.
Oh my God, yeah. Wow.
And so it's just like, I feel like that's something it's taken me a little bit to get
Mhm.
used to. Like, I feel like now I'm like, okay, if they're like a friend, they're going to tell
Yeah.
you, like, if your hair doesn't look right or you have something in your
Yeah.
teeth or something like that, like they
Mm.
want to let you know like something looks a little different. But I feel like that was something initially that was a bit of a shock for me. So
I just have one funny story to add on this.
yeah.
I had a good friend who had a crush on an American woman, Indian guy, American
Aw.
woman. And his opening line with her was, "Wow, your face is really round."
Oh my
And,
gosh.
you know, it just
What
in
a
the
nice
U.S.
thing to
that's
say.
pretty. It's pretty insulting to point out physical appearances, and he was just like,
yeah.
"Oh, I've noticed this about you." So just difference.
Did this end up dating?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
my
okay.
gosh.
Took a little bit of time. Took a little bit of time. He tried a few things.
Got it.
That was
Okay.
not the right approach. But yeah, they did end up dating for a few years.
That's
Actually.
Alright.
Hey, before we move on to the next part of the video, I want to quickly talk about our newsletter community, which you can be part of absolutely free. We are now going strong and we have more than 40,000 people in our newsletter community. So imagine 40,000 people are receiving my newsletter every single week, twice a week, where I break down all of the stories that we did and make it a valuable resource for you. So if you're someone who doesn't have time to watch this and you just want to get an email with all of the resources into an email, that is the place to be. I'll put the link in the description. I'll give you some example. This is the one for Tanvi, where how she got 2 co-ops and she paid off her entire master's fees. This is an example of Maya, where she got 3 co-ops and she paid off her fees plus a little bit of savings. Here is an example of Sahil, who got his green card in 3 years. Here is an example where we shared a bunch of resources on job hunting. So I promise this is going to be a valuable resource for you, and it doesn't cost you anything. If you want to be part of our newsletter community, link will be in the description, or you can go to link.udj.com/newsletter. This is the URL. And now I'll let you enjoy the video.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We will come to dating
Yeah.
things as well. But I want to switch gears to safety. That is like
Mhm.
the number one
Mm.
questions I've been asked
Yeah.
on the Instagram story, that how can women feel safety in United States? Is it safe to come to United States?
Yeah.
And you guys have lived there
Yeah.
all your
Yeah.
life. What are your thoughts? Like, how can they, one, is it safe for them to be in United States?
Mhm.
And two, how can they ensure their safety?
Yeah.
What are some of the safety measures they should take?
Yeah. So I am someone that during COVID, when my lease was up, I lived alone, and I
Mm.
chose to live in 16 different states while working remotely.
Oh, wow.
So fully alone, all over the East Coast of the United States. And I never haven't had any incidents,
Mm.
fully honest. I'm someone that
Mhm.
goes hiking alone. I go skiing alone. I do things
Mhm.
alone. I go to
Yeah.
dinner alone.
Mm.
So just broadly, the media, I think, overblows this a little bit, what it's
Totally.
like to be just alone and be alone.
Yeah.
And so broadly safe. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's just life as a
yeah.
woman.
I think,
yeah.
like for myself, like at night, like I feel like I never really go out at night alone,
Mhm.
especially like in a bigger city. I always go with like a group of friends, or I go to
Mhm.
like maybe a more, like a place where I know there's going to be a lot of people.
Mhm.
You know, I feel a little bit more safer in those kind of scenarios. But yeah, I feel like I have never really had any sort of thing like during the daytime where I felt like unsafe as a woman. I think it's more like in the evening, I just want to, for my own safety, I
Yeah.
just always feel a little bit better when I'm like with a group of friends or travel, doing something like that. So
Yeah.
And I mean,
I don't know.
I have pepper spray in the US. I
Yeah.
keep it.
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
thing.
why
yeah,
not?
just in case. I
you
do
know,
the same
yeah,
actually. Yeah.
It's like why not have it?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
in case you need it, like
Yeah.
you're ready.
And the other
So that's the
recommendation is
tip
those
for all the girls.
yeah,
Yeah.
pepper
Okay.
spray, fully legal. You can even get bear spray if you're feeling real
Totally.
real crazy.
Yeah.
And the other one is there's a lot of safety devices where you can just push a button real quick and it
Mhm.
dials the nearest
Yeah.
police, and so that's
Oh,
also just
interesting. Okay.
that way if you're worried you're in your car, hit
Mm.
it. GPS is there. You can
Yeah.
use it while hiking even.
And a lot of
Mm.
Yeah.
universities even have like campus
Yeah, they have
police.
the
Yeah.
blue light thing.
Yeah, they have
there.
like little, like they have different stations where you can even like phone it and like the police
Yeah.
will come and escort you to your
Yeah.
car or to your dorm or something like
Yeah.
that if you're like studying late at night and you need like you
Yeah.
just feel safer with
I
that.
think in
Yeah.
general, I've seen that campuses are safer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like not something usually something happens over there, but
Yeah.
off campus things
Yep.
could happen, and that's where like going not alone,
Yeah.
pepper
Yep.
spray, things
And
like
Mhm.
that.
actually, I think just one thing that just struck me is that predators look for people that look vulnerable.
Mm.
So don't go get drunk and walk home alone where you're
Totally.
stumbling.
Yeah.
Don't be on the phone not paying attention.
Yeah.
It's
It's
you still
true.
need to look out for yourself.
Totally.
And so if you do look vulnerable late at
Mm.
night in a
Mm.
bad area, I know it's a bit different in India, but in the US, if you're in an area that's just all men and you see no women,
Mm.
that can be a sign that you maybe don't want to hang out there.
Yeah.
Most of the time in the
Mhm.
US, it's pretty 50-50
Yeah.
on men and women walking around.
I agree.
So you can be a little bit of a judgment that way too.
Yeah.
How to kind of feel if you'd be safe alone there.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And follow up, because you've been in 16 states. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So a lot of questions were also, are there any specific cities or states that
Mm.
are more safer in general?
Yes. So you can look up crime ratings on the
That's
internet.
true.
Mm.
Yeah.
That'll tell you. In my experience, there's always safe areas of cities
Mm.
Mhm.
and less safe areas.
Totally.
There's always
Yeah.
probably going to be an area that has more crime.
Yeah.
People may be struggling a bit more.
There's more like
Mm.
drugs or something.
Yeah, drugs
Yeah.
going on. And
Yeah.
so, it's good to know those areas. And
Yeah.
actually,
Mhm.
my tip is going on Reddit,
Mm.
going to the city
Oh, yeah,
subreddit.
that's a good idea.
There's going to be so many people asking, hey, I'm visiting the city. Is it safe? You can
Mhm.
even make your own post and people will be honest.
Yeah.
But like Reddit or other platforms, social media platforms,
Yeah.
are going to have some information for you.
Totally.
And there's
Mm.
also typically crime stats based on region.
Mhm.
I have felt more unsafe in rural areas with drug issues
Yeah.
than I generally have
Mm.
felt in cities.
Oh,
I was in
interesting.
Kentucky for a while and I heard more sirens in the town I was in because of all the, drugs make people crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Where
Yeah.
in cities, if you stay, general areas most people are in, I've rarely felt that. And so,
Mm.
they have a different take. It's not always cities. Sometimes rural areas can
Yeah.
have a drug presence.
That's
Yeah.
true.
I mean, we live in Chico, which,
Which is like a smaller town.
yeah, it's a small town,
Mm.
college town. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
we've rarely seen like any crimes.
Yeah, it's
over
pretty
there.
Yeah.
safe overall.
Yeah.
I think probably too, if like these are women who are coming as like students, like they can probably also talk to like their seniors as well
Yeah.
and like know, like to ask them like what are the best areas to live in, the safer
Mhm.
neighborhoods or things like that,
Mhm.
things to avoid,
Yeah.
and even get like a feel for the city that they're in. I'm sure like probably on the university website they're not going to disclose this because it might make their university look
Yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
but like the seniors or people who have gone to school there would know and be
Mm.
able to give you
Sure.
that
Yeah.
information as well as
Yeah.
somebody who's like studied there and like knows the area. So that's
Mhm.
also an idea.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Moving on to college life,
Mhm.
because my audience wants to come to United States for masters,
Mhm.
and one of the things I always wonder is how to maximize their experience in university,
Mhm.
whether like participating in clubs,
Mhm.
etc. How did you guys, like as an American, maximize your experience in university? What did you guys do? How were you involved?
I think like getting involved in clubs does help a lot. It even just helps like start networking and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Networking is really big in the US, even relating to like future jobs and things like that
Mhm.
as well. But I do think like joining clubs is not only like fun, but also gets you out of your comfort zone, has you like you're able to like maybe host different events and things like that, or I don't know, just meet with other people that might even be part of the same major as you, which is really great. So yeah, I think that does help, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's just very similar. So I think putting yourself out there in an authentic way, so joining clubs or interest
Mhm.
groups that you relate to. If you're into
Yeah.
gardening, find your university gardening club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
that's
you're
true.
into video gaming, I am.
Mm.
Find other people into video gaming.
Yeah.
But one thing I found is that if you're the person that asks people to do things often,
Mm.
that energy comes back to you.
Yeah.
I had a few friends that had a different experience where they were maybe a bit more shy and, they were asking, no one ever asked me to do things.
Mm.
They never asked anyone else to do anything.
Yeah.
So I think just putting yourself out there a little bit, this goes for dating too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and just saying, hey, do you want to go do this with me, and checking things
Yeah.
out. But if you're traveling to the United States and you'll maybe be in the city for a few years before going elsewhere for work,
Mm.
Mhm.
explore, find people to go do things with.
Totally.
You're only going to be there for a little bit. You're only going to be perhaps younger, less commitment for a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a good time to really explore
Yeah.
and see what else that you might be interested in.
Totally. And it's
Yeah.
like a new country for them too. So like being able to do things and go places will be able to like really enjoy and take advantage of the opportunity as well, and really start to understand like the culture. Also practice English a lot too.
We have a lot of accents.
Yes,
We have a
it's
variety
true.
of accents.
Not
Yeah.
as much as Indians.
No,
though.
that's true. It's true.
I know you guys
Uh,
have different languages for different states,
Yeah,
so we're not
yeah.
that bad, but well, not bad, but just not that different. We just have different ways of saying
Dialects,
words.
yeah. Yeah. And I was going to ask, because you guys both mentioned about joining the clubs or going to
Mm.
the clubs, but also I've seen this is typically in Indian community.
Mhm.
We like to stay in Indian community.
Yes.
Because that's just what we feel like comfort zone. We are in that zone. How do we like get out of that? And because maybe some girls or women are shy or introvert
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they don't know what to expect. So would you have any recommendation?
I would say that when we're growing up and we're doing our history class,
Hmm.
our social studies teachers, and maybe hopefully this is the
Mhm.
same for you. If not, we'll have to find out. But we're a melting pot.
Mhm.
We take pride on the fact that we're all different.
Mm.
Being
Yeah.
different is good, and standing out is a point of pride. And
Yeah.
so if you just go out and you look different, people are going to ask where you're from, what you think of the US, what your favorite food is. They're going to
Yeah.
want to get to know you. They're going to be interested in you.
Yeah.
The differences are actually what attract us.
Yeah.
You're interesting.
It's true.
So, if you can practice just talking to people, something that's a little different about the US is we just randomly talk to strangers sometimes.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
that. Like, I feel like
Sometimes?
most
a
of the
lot,
time,
a lot.
like I feel like
Yeah.
Americans are generally like very friendly people
Yes.
and very outgoing. Maybe I don't know if I would say like extroverted, but we don't mind talking to strangers.
Yep.
And I feel like Americans are generally just very friendly people, and so like if you go out and like say hi, most of the times Americans be like, "Hey, how are you? Like, where are you from?" Like how
Yeah.
Claire was
And then
saying.
we Indians would be like, why is she talking?
Yeah. Or like if you drop something at the register, someone be like, "Oh yeah, let me help you. How's it going?" Like,
Right.
"Oh,
Yeah.
you're getting some Pepto-Bismol. Sorry." Like,
Hope you feel better soon.
yeah, it's like, oh yeah. And like same thing on airplanes.
Mhm.
Any situation where there's some downtime,
Mhm.
you'll probably connect with someone, and there's no obligation to get someone's phone number or stay
Totally.
connected. You just
Yeah.
enjoy the positivity
Yeah,
and
exactly.
move on. Yeah.
And
But
then
I-
if you enjoy the conversation, you can
Then,
take
yeah.
it further
Mhm.
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
meeting up later on. But yeah.
The cultural context is, I think, in India,
Mhm.
we think a lot about what society is going to think about us, what people are going to think
Mhm.
about us. What if I say something, they'll think that I'm so stupid or I'm so idiot. Do you guys, when you were growing up, did you have that at all mindset, or that
Mhm.
does not exist in that dictionary in your head? Like,
Oh, I was had so much social anxiety growing up, so much. I
Mm.
was so introverted. I
Oh.
was really just I was afraid of what people spoke to me, and then I think at some point in high school I realized the really confident people,
mm,
no one could make fun of them because they were like a duck. It washed off of them.
Mhm.
And then because of that, you just could never bring them down. And so when I went to college, I pretended to be confident for a while,
Mm.
and it worked for me too. No one
Wow.
today would probably presume I'm so introverted or was really socially anxious
Yeah.
oh,
growing up.
interesting.
But
I
if
didn't know
you sort
that.
of have that opinion of no one can hurt me,
Mhm.
I am strong.
Yeah.
I have found people look for vulnerability, and if you have that confidence,
Mm.
Yeah.
the other thing is we do like differences and being
Yeah.
unique.
Totally.
And so just fitting into society isn't really, I'd say, a priority for
Mm.
many people. And
Mhm.
I don't know how about
Yeah.
you feel.
I mean, I feel like even for myself, like I didn't learn a ton about India even in school. So I feel like when I met you, like I was like, oh, like I want to know more. And it's like so interesting. And like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like one of the 7 wonders of the world is in India. Like there's a lot to India that I don't even like, that I didn't know at the time. Like I never even had Indian food. Like there was like, you know,
Mhm.
for myself, I felt like, oh, it's so interesting. And like, tell me more about your culture and
Yeah.
like the different festivals and things that you guys celebrate and you do. It's like, it's so fascinating to me as an American. And so like, yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm like trying to think of the question. I'm
The
a little
question,
nervous.
do you think what other people are gonna think about?
I mean, yeah, I think sometimes, like even now, I'm like, oh, I hope I don't say the wrong thing. I hope like I speak well or whatever. But I think everybody kind of deals with that
Mm.
and just like learning to like let that go and just be yourself and be authentic to who you are. And
Mhm.
I think people really love that and they're kind of drawn to that because I think
Mm.
we all just like want to be like ourselves and have that
Mhm.
confidence. And so I feel like when you have that or when you try to emulate that you have that,
Yeah.
people are drawn to that and they want to be your friend because they're like, oh, I wish I was more like that and I want to
Yeah.
be like that person. And I think we all struggle with it to some degree,
Yeah.
but we just don't show it as much. So I feel like I understand where they're coming from with
Mm.
that. But just to kind of like what Claire said, just present like you're confident, be yourself, and I think people will naturally want to be your friend.
Mm. Switching gears. I like to switch gears.
Okay.
When I did my first on-campus job, this is like first time ever getting an experience of working in United States. My boss was women. She was the leader of that department,
Mhm.
and she then became my mentor as well.
Mhm.
So it was like really important for me to just have mentors in
Yeah.
life in general, especially in the foreign country. Did you guys have mentors or women mentors, and how can my audience approach to like someone like,
Mhm.
can I be a mentor, can you be my mentor, things like that?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did have a mentor in my MBA program. Her name was Tricia Homer.
Mm.
Really wonderful person. And it's the same advice I give for people learning to network. You
Mm.
can't force it. It has to
Mhm.
be someone you have some connection with,
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
that's a similar interest, career path, or even just you guys gel really well.
Yeah.
And that's important. Like,
Yeah.
asking someone to be your mentor who you don't have a connection with doesn't really help either one.
Yeah.
And so I bumped into her. We had a great conversation. She saw me do some public speaking and said, "Hey, can you help me with something?" And
That's
then
cool.
it happened, organically.
Yeah,
Mm.
for
And then
sure.
actually for people looking for on-campus work, she invented a position for me. I did not have an
Mm.
on-campus job. And so I
Nice.
actually was able to get one purely
Totally.
because I made that connection.
Yeah.
But I didn't ask for anything.
Yeah.
I just organically made a friend
Mhm.
and it went from
Yeah.
there. And so even if you are a bit introverted, putting yourself in situations where you get to meet people,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when your energy is feeling pretty good,
Yeah.
is really important for I think getting a mentor.
Yeah. So
Totally.
I'm imagining this episode goes live, and then people reaching out to both of you on LinkedIn saying,
Oh,
"Can you
Yeah,
be my mentor?"
that's so sweet.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's amazing. In same on the topic of like getting on campus jobs and getting jobs in general,
Yeah.
and networking is like a big thing in United States.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily what you know, it's more like who you know
Yep.
is what we
Yep.
say in America.
Yeah.
So how can women network when it's like
Mm.
there's so much going on? Like how can they get out of their shell and start
Mhm.
networking? How did you network?
Oh, so I had a targeted interest. I knew going to my MBA program that I wanted to work for a startup.
Mm.
I want to start my own
Mm.
business one day.
Oh,
I
cool.
love the startup environment. I
Yeah.
wanted to wear many hats. And so I went to startup career fairs.
Mm,
Oh,
cool.
interesting.
And
Okay.
then I went to startup meetups. And that's
Yeah.
actually where I found MPOWER.
Mm.
The funny thing is, to your point about authenticity earlier,
Yeah.
I went to this career fair for startups. Didn't like any of the companies after talking to them. I started just goofing around.
Mm.
One of the recruiters for MPOWER heard my laugh and we started talking.
Oh my gosh.
And that's why I
awesome.
work at MPOWER the past
Oh
7,
my
8
gosh.
years. But
That
it's,
is.
it is truly these small random moments
Yeah.
that create it. And so I've also been to several career fairs where nothing happened.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's
And
true.
so, don't getting too defeated by that,
Mhm.
thinking through what did you learn from that experience, and then, keep putting yourself out there.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think in the US we have I'm sure in India too, honestly, it's just, if you don't make it the first time, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you fail, try again.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of like my networking started even just with like professors and like staying after
Mhm.
hours and like asking questions if I had questions on the material that we studied, or even just like staying back and like helping out with like classes that he would teach. Like if I'm like working in the back on a project or something, but he's like, "Hey, Caitlyn, like, can you
Yeah.
help the student that has a question?" I'm like, "Sure." Like, I know how to do that. Like that was my class last year or whatever. So that was helpful for me. And then I did go to career fairs as well and things like that and network. But I feel like a lot of my networking came more from like meeting with my professor. Like my professor was also my mentor. And he, again, like kind of what Claire was saying too, like he opened up doors even for like paid internships for me, other job opportunities that led to like where I started working after I graduated. So that was helpful. And then clubs on campus, and like that led to having another job on campus. So like I feel like for me it was more so like professors and clubs.
Authenticity is really important. Don't
Yeah.
force yourself to do things you don't
Yeah.
actually like.
Yes.
When
Yeah.
someone's passionate in an interview, you
Yeah.
can tell.
I feel
Yeah.
like Americans
Yeah.
really love that
Yeah.
because they're like, do what you love what you do. That's a
Yeah.
very common phrase in America, and
Mhm.
everybody kind of wants to like do the things that they love. And when they see you're like passionate about it, I think Americans are like, that's so like, we love to see that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because we like aspire to have that. And so
Yeah.
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 Was it at
Authenticity.
all challenging when student life great, but moving on to like post graduation,
Mhm.
was it challenging to stand out as women in the which is male dominated tech industry at
Mhm.
all? Like, was it challenging, and if it was, how did you stand out?
So I have two answers. The
Yes.
first is during my MBA program, which was, still had maybe 1/3 women, but mostly male.
Yeah.
I had trained myself to stop interrupting people before I went to my MBA program. I had to train myself to interrupt people again to be heard. And
Oh,
so
interesting. Yeah.
just I realized, in the program, men would speak over me.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned
Yeah,
to
that does happen.
speak over them.
Yeah.
But then when I was looking for companies to work for, I looked for companies that had women in the leadership team.
Oh.
That helped me realize they believe in women. They're going to elevate women. And that worked out really well for me. Now the company I work for is trying to get 50% women. I believe half of our exec team is currently female.
Wow.
So just knowing that can really be helpful. So when you're targeting companies, looking at the workforce percentage and not just the overall, but how many women are in leadership can be really helpful to let you know how a company is going to look at that. So MBA, I did feel that a bit, but in work, I have not actually, which has been great. Yeah.
That's cool. I had a really positive experience with the men that I was around. I didn't have any sort of like negative, like domineering type experiences. I feel like we all really were interested in what we were studying and all wanted to succeed in our classes and were willing to help each other out. I feel like sometimes there's like a negative perspective. I mean, I'm sure people have had experiences where they feel like intimidated by men in their classes, but I didn't have that experience. And then when I started to work, I feel like,
all right, I want to do some fun things. Dating.
Oh, fun.
How is it dating in America in general? Like, what's the dating culture like? Is it more casual? Is it more serious?
I feel like Claire might have to take this one.
Oh, do you want to talk to Yudi about your dating life?
No, because I didn't actually like Yudi's the only guy I've ever dated. So I never
you guys are
actually
so lucky.
dated.
Yeah.
Like
that's
we
awesome.
like he was the only guy I dated and we got married. So I feel like I don't really have any like standing. I do know
we met-
what American guys are like, but
And we met at the clubs.
yeah, we did.
That's one more reason people should participate in clubs.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, when you said the clubs, I'm like, you guys don't
No,
seem
not
like
like the bars.
I know, like-
like the student clubs.
I know, I'm like, you guys don't seem like the bar hopping type.
We're not. We don't even drink.
It's just like you met at the clubs.
Yeah. The student
All right,
clubs.
guys.
Student clubs.
So my best friend had an experience like yours. She
Yeah.
met a man in college about a decade ago.
Mm.
Never saw anyone else. They're married, great, everything.
Yeah.
So like that happens
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's changed as I've aged. When
Yeah.
I was, so I'm 35 now.
Yeah.
When I was in my early 20s and teens, dating
Mhm.
apps weren't so big.
Yeah.
So it was a lot more about organic connections. You know, who do you meet through your
Mhm.
friends? When you go to a social group,
Totally.
make these connections, people might introduce you.
Yeah.
I think it's much easier dating when you're in school, to be honest,
Yeah.
because you're around people the same age with a similar interest. Even if it's not, let's say, your MBA program, but you have a whole campus of people
Yeah.
Totally.
to bump into. So
Mhm.
for your audience, I would just start with, you have a prime opportunity
Yeah.
to kind of meet people just as friends, mentors,
Yeah.
and dating
Mhm.
Yeah.
while you're in school. So another
Sure.
reason to put yourself out there.
Mm.
But as I've aged, there's definitely been a cultural change where a lot more people now meet on dating apps.
Yeah.
And having done it myself and being a bit more introverted, it's just not for me.
Yeah.
Speaking from my
Mhm.
own personal experience, it's a bit exhausting meeting, let's say, strangers often.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you can tell in the first 20 minutes, we're
Totally.
not connecting.
Yeah.
And so that can be really disheartening for
Yeah.
people. And I know some people don't even get dates. I would say if you are a woman, however,
Mhm.
dating apps are highly skewed to, I don't know the statistic, I have to look it up, way more men. There are so many more men on dating apps than women.
Mm.
So for women, it's a bit more in your favor. For men,
Yeah.
it's definitely less so, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Mm.
But I would try to avoid them if possible.
Mm.
I don't think anyone really likes them.
Yeah.
I've had all of my long-term partners, even like good short-term partners where, it just didn't work out for whatever reasons, have been through organic connections, mostly through friends and clubs. And they've all just been really great people,
Yeah.
actually. And I'll be honest, I've met a lot of people through jobs I've had. Sometimes at work, you see a different side of someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see how competent they are. You see what they're like with their team.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's been really great. I think 20% of people, if I'm not wrong, meet their partner at work today in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as you're not managing them and they're not on your
Yeah.
team, there isn't the same culture around no.
Yeah.
It's actually relatively acceptable
Mm.
to
Mhm.
date coworkers as long as you're not really working together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's not off limits either,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And so I think putting yourself out there, perhaps not with the goal of dating, but just making those genuine connections,
Yeah.
has worked really well for the people in my life.
Yeah.
If dating apps for you, give it a go.
Yeah.
But generally, I probably find me and my friends, I found it just to be a bit more of a negative experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's also
Versus
like
positive,
hard
yeah.
to like vet somebody
Yeah.
on like the dating apps, I would say. Like I feel like when Yudi and I met, it was like through like a friend who like knew me and knew him, and it was like, Caitlyn's a great girl, like you should like connect with her or something. And so we
yeah.
like met at an event and like got connected that way. But it was like, yeah, I feel like it could be probably harder to like
Yeah.
really know somebody's character and if they're actually being authentic or if they're
Yep.
just saying all the good stuff and kind of
And even attraction, you
know.
can't tell over a phone.
Yeah.
Where maybe in 20 minutes you could say yes or no really quickly
Totally.
if you're feeling it.
Mhm.
And so it's
Yeah.
just it's your energy levels. It's managing
Yeah.
your energy.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you, what's the ideal place to pick up guys?
Oh.
I don't know.
I don't think there's an ideal, to be honest. Like I really don't
There's
think
like a particular spot on campus. where
Yes,
you can, like,
go
pick
to
up
this
guys.
one tree. Like no, that's not really the.
Doesn't really happen.
Yeah. It turns out if you stay home in your room, that's not going to work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a product of you going out and meeting people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would go with the mindset of I want to make friends. I
Yeah.
want to build my network.
Mm.
People
Mhm.
can sense when you want something from them.
Yeah.
It comes across.
Mm.
So don't necessarily go around saying you.
I want-
Yeah. It's just, it's not typically well received.
Yeah.
I would say
And
that
you also might get like a
Yeah.
wrong guy who has
Yeah.
like different interests, who's not like a good person potentially, you
Mm.
know, if you seem like a little bit too desperate.
Yep.
Yeah.
There,
And that goes
you-
for men and women.
it might attract the
Yeah.
wrong type of person that you're actually not interested in. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
Americans, like we said, are friendly. We love to
Mhm.
just meet people and there's no
Yeah.
obligation. So if you strike up a conversation and you're really thinking, wow, I love talking to this person,
Yeah.
it's really easy.
Totally.
It wouldn't be too weird to say, hey, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Here's my number.
Yeah.
Feel free to call. That's
Yeah.
my biggest tip, actually.
Totally.
Mm.
Give someone your number
Oh, interesting.
And that
Mhm.
way they have the option of contacting you.
Yeah.
And this goes for men too. And
Mm.
that way you're not putting undue pressure on someone and
Yeah.
it's really in their court.
Yeah.
And then you keep going. But giving people your Instagram, your number
Mhm.
would be
Nice.
my advice. Yeah.
Yeah. I can just make this 1 minute reel for datings.
Oh, cool.
Nice. Cool.
Mhm.
Fun thing, since we are on the fun topic, what
Mm.
are some of the fun things you guys do in terms of like what would be the fun things you would define, like hiking,
Mm.
Yeah.
going to bars? I don't know. Like what are some of the fun things you guys do?
Yeah. So you guys already know the fun things you do.
Yeah.
What do you guys do?
Watch, we go watch
We go
movies,
out for
hang out.
movies. I like to hike, and I
Yeah.
like to we like to take like walks in like more nature
Yeah.
type. We like to go on like little day trips sometimes. We did that a lot in college. Like we
Yeah.
live close to like San Francisco or like the
Mhm.
ocean. So we would like take day trips and go there. And that was really fun. Like we would do more like spontaneous type, like let's just like take this Saturday and like, go here. Or like Yudi would be like, hey, I know this place that has really good like Indian Chinese food. It's like 3 hours away. Do you still want to go? I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And like, but that also allowed for like more like conversation in the car and like
Mhm.
hanging out. And yeah, so we would do stuff like that for fun.
Yeah, but I think sorry, my question was more solo traveling.
Oh, solo traveling.
Oh.
Before marriage, before dating, because
I feel like I didn't do a ton of like solo traveling.
girl trips.
I like going with friends.
Yeah.
So like I would still do like day trips and stuff like that with friends, or I like to go. I did like hiking and like things like you were
Mhm.
talking about, like outdoorsy type stuff.
So I do a lot of things alone. I
Mm.
just I enjoy doing what I want when I want to do it. And so I took a lot of road trips
Oh,
too.
cool.
I think that's one of the great things
Yeah.
about the US actually.
Yeah.
Rent a
Mhm.
car, take a road trip,
Yeah.
bring friends if you want, go alone
Totally.
if you want.
Yeah.
But there's just so much to see and it's just so
Mhm.
much scenery.
Yeah.
Our national parks are amazing.
Yeah.
They're so pretty.
There's
Yeah.
state parks that people don't go to. There's all these natural beauty in the United
Yes.
States
Totally.
that
Yeah.
probably one of the best things we did is creating the national park system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no matter where you are in the US, there'll be a bunch of them. And like I said, I
Mhm.
hike alone. I stay in Airbnbs alone. I go skiing alone. I do
Yeah.
things alone. Yeah, I take a few safety precautions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I've just had just an incredible time. I don't regret
Do
any
you-
of it.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And it's like very uncommon in India
Mhm.
for I think women's to do that, but that's good to know.
Mm.
But what are some of the spots like if you like?
Oh yeah, so East Coast, if you're on the East Coast of the
Mhm.
US, the Great Smoky Mountains,
Mm.
as well as Shenandoah. And actually one of my favorite trips is Shenandoah is the national park near DC. Start there, drive through Skyline Drive. Then there's a highway called Blue Ridge Parkway. I
Mm.
believe it's about 600 miles long.
Oh wow.
It is gorgeous through a mountain range. There are places you can stay that are nice and come off the path.
Oh,
Mm.
nice.
There are hiking trails and viewpoints along the entire thing.
Mm.
And then it
Cool.
ends up in the Great Smoky Mountains, which is the most visited park in the United States.
Mm.
So you can do a whole weekend trip,
That's cool.
longer if you want, doing that.
Yeah.
There's also a few, there's a lot of national parks on the West Coast as well, which you
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
may have seen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Just like
so
Yosemite is over there.
Yellowstone, a lot of the famous
Mhm.
ones.
Yeah.
And then
Tahoe.
almost
Even Tahoe's beautiful. We've gone to
Yeah.
Tahoe before. Even like Shasta,
Mm,
Lake
yeah.
Shasta or Lassen. They're a little bit smaller, but they're a little bit closer to us.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to think, where was the other one that you went with some of your friends in college? Like Half
That was
Moon
in
Bay.
Oregon. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Oregon
Crater
also has a
Lake.
lot of waterfalls too
Yeah.
in
Oh,
Oregon.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's always fun to visit.
We have beaches on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Mm.
So I'd
Mhm.
say let's do by season.
Yeah.
In the summer, people do a lot of water sports.
Yeah.
And so you can go to the ocean, you can go
Mhm.
surfing is pretty big actually on both coasts.
Yeah.
A lot of pools, a lot of water parks,
Yeah.
a lot of picnics and barbecues in the
Mhm.
summer. When you get to fall, we have a lot more, festivals would
Yeah.
be what it says.
And,
So
like,
we have
Foliage, like fall
Yeah,
foliage
it's
is like so
beautiful.
pretty with all the leaves changing color
Yeah.
because we're not like tropical like India is. Well,
Yep.
some parts of America is like, but mainly we have like where we're from. There's a
Yeah.
lot of like the leaves change color and it's so
You go
pretty.
see it, and then there's
Yeah.
Halloween, Thanksgiving,
Yes.
and then a
All
lot
the
of
big
great food.
holidays, lots of
Yeah.
food. Yep.
And you get to winter, and a lot of people go skiing and snowboarding.
Mhm.
Actually, out west, that's pretty
Yeah.
common. Actually, all my international classmates went and did that just to see it.
Mm.
Oh,
There's
nice.
some on the East Coast too. You'll find it. It's just maybe a bit nicer
Yeah.
out west.
Yeah.
And then you get to spring, and people do a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
once again.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
All the
I
seasons.
have one answer
Yeah.
though, I think. So this is like, I'm a big nature junkie.
Yeah.
But if you're someone who wants to live the party lifestyle, I've done that too.
Yeah.
In any city, you're going to find bars. You're going to
Yeah.
find clubs. It kind of depends on what vibe you're going
Mhm.
for. You're going to
Mhm.
find, dive bars or something we have with karaoke
Oh, yeah.
nights.
Mm.
There's a variety
Yeah,
of
yeah,
game
yeah.
nights,
Yeah.
basically.
Speakeasy.
Speakeasy types for
Yeah.
sure. You can find all price points on food from
Mhm.
cheap to nice
Very
too.
expensive,
You can
yeah.
find your dance clubs if that's what you're looking
It's
for.
true.
I will say there's a lot more variety in cities.
Yeah.
Yes. For
If you're in a
sure.
small town, you're going to have a lot more access to nature, but probably less
Mhm.
of the party, live it up scene.
Right.
Yeah.
And dating, I'll be honest, you're going to have a better time in a city once again. There's just more people to
Yeah.
meet.
Yeah.
If you have a huge campus, then probably doesn't matter as much.
Yeah.
But just a thought about, are you someone that really wants to be around a lot of people and meet a lot of people?
Yeah.
A city may have a little bit more offer you. If you're
Mm.
super into nature and hiking, maybe a bit more rural is
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you can kind
Mhm.
of judge that a
Totally.
little bit.
That's a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. I want to wrap, but before I wrap, I have a quick question. Since I'm assuming, met multiple international students, and since you've seen them, worked with them, studied with them, what are some of the hesitations or mindset or limitations that you've seen in them that you would be like, you can tell them that, okay, I wish I could have told them those things, but now is the opportunity. What would be some of those?
I might have hinted at this throughout this conversation, but meet people outside your own background.
Mhm.
Sometimes the Indians would only hang out with Indians.
Yeah.
Sometimes the Chinese would only hang out with Chinese.
Yeah.
And that means they weren't able to grow their network.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
professionally, it can hurt you a bit.
Totally.
It means friend-wise, you also are sort of not, you're in a new country. Part of that is
Yeah.
sort of learning what it's like. That's an
Yeah.
experience that's unique.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people never really learned, what the culture was like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I would say try to meet a variety of people. Doesn't mean you have to love everyone,
Yeah.
but that's probably a common thing I've noticed. Is just
Mhm.
people not sort of breaking outside of their own social group.
Mm.
Yeah.
For graduate school, this isn't the same in undergrad. I think or I know in India it's postgrad actually. So
Yeah.
for master's
Masters,
postgrad,
yeah.
some people put a lot of stock, for some reason, in getting straight A 4.0s. They're like, I will be the top of my class and get 4.0s. Grad school, that is not your job.
Yeah.
Your job is to get a job.
Yes.
So it is okay to get 3 points lower or to get an A-
Yeah.
with a decent GPA
Yeah.
and do more clubs. Do
Yeah.
more. This is actually the most common thing, actually.
Yeah.
It's just people
Mm.
paying way too attention to getting the top scores
Mm.
and not
Mm.
enough to expanding their horizons and other professional
Mm.
opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the US, we don't care as much about top grades when
Yeah.
for college admissions.
so
It's
true.
are you doing sports? Are you an art club?
Mhm.
How well rounded are you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
No, that's such a good point.
Sorry, I'll caveat for international students, you do have to maintain
You-
3.0
Okay,
and above.
and to keep a
Yes.
scholarship, you often need a 3.0.
Yeah.
For most master's programs, you have to really not try
Yes.
to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
below
yeah,
a
of course.
3.0. It
Yep.
doesn't help the school either.
Yep.
So yeah, you need to learn. You're there for a reason.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're gonna, spend an extra 3 hours a night studying, or an
Yeah.
extra 3 hours a night getting a job, or looking for
Mm,
other experiences,
100%.
do something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 No, that's a good point.
Yeah. Any other limitations, mindset, beliefs that you've seen in international students?
I feel like I would just be saying again what Claire has already said. I feel like a lot of times, at least even like when we were dating and like you lived in a primarily like an area where there were a lot of other Indians, I didn't always see a lot of them getting involved in clubs or like meeting other people that were different than them. They primarily stayed in their group, spoke Hindi the whole time, and didn't even like kind of go outside and like practice their English unless it was like in their class and amongst their professors and things like that.
Mm.
But I think sometimes it is hard. Like I know even for myself, like I'm trying to learn Hindi. And so sometimes it's hard to like practice because you're like, oh, I'm going to sound so stupid. I'm not going to sound intelligent. Like people are going to look at me weird. But I feel like Americans are so like, we'd be so excited to just like get to know you that we know that it's probably difficult. We know that it's probably weird because you're in a different country. So there's a lot more grace there. And so I feel like just an encouragement just to like get outside your comfort zone and like meet other people that aren't from your cultural background and practice your English because that's going to help you when you look for jobs. You know, sometimes the Indian accent can be hard for some Americans to understand. And so using your time in college to really kind of get out of your comfort zone, practice your English is really going to help you in the long run when you're at those career fairs and you're talking to people and you're trying to articulate, you know, who you are and what you're looking for in a job. You really want your, you know, the person who's hiring you to understand what you're saying and to really be able to connect with you. And so I think going outside and talking to people, practicing your English is huge.
Actually, as you were talking, you made me just think of one more thing, which is, you know, something I'm sure you have. I know you have content on this, but thinking of networking and meeting people as something transactional. Like saying, okay, I'm going to go to this career fair. I'm going to talk to 5 people. I'm going to ask them for jobs. Or same thing for dating. I'm going to go find people and ask them out, and I will get something back. And thinking of human interactions as a transactional thing is not well received. So if you're someone who's a bit more shy or, you know, you think you're going to struggle with this, you actually do need to put yourself out there, practice your English, get comfortable with sort of the American small talk and getting used to people. So you can get to know people and, you know, aspire to the great heights you want. But I have some classmates that never got past the transactional mindset and they were not successful getting jobs actually. And so the ones that immerse themselves a bit more in the culture, how to really interact, clean up their English a little bit, and then just felt more comfortable. That comfort came across in dating and networking and getting jobs. And so I think that authenticity is important.
Build relationship, not transactions.
That's so good.
So amazing. Cool. What empowers you?
I mean, I've been in this job for a while. I love supporting international students in their journey. I think the diversity of the United States is just the greatest part about it. I love in DC where I can meet my Uber driver, can tell me about their experience in Nigeria. I go out to dinner and learn what it's like to be in Pakistan. I could just learn so much from everyone. I love the diversity of the United States. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
It's so good. I know it's like, I just love like coming along for the journey. I know UD's doing like a lot of really awesome things. And so I love like meeting the students and like it's been fun these past events, like just hearing their stories and what they're aspiring to do is really cool. And just being here and being a part of the journey.
Cool. Again, thank you so much, Claire and Caitlyn, for being here. I learned a lot, and I am sure my audience are going to learn a lot. Can't wait to bring you back again. But until our next one.
Keep smiling, keep hustling.
Nice.
Nope.